What happens when a single moment of recognition shatters 4 decades of carefully constructed lies? When a billionaire's cold dismissal comes back to haunt him in the most unexpected way? For Victoria Sterling, a 22-year-old server at Le Magnolia, Manhattan's most exclusive restaurant, that moment came when she served champagne to Marcus Blackwood, a man whose steel-grey eyes held no recognition of the night they'd shared 4 years earlier. For Marcus, a tech mogul worth $12 billion, she was just another faceless employee. But when a 7-year-old girl with his eyes walked up to him at a charity gala and called him daddy in front of 500 of New York's elite, both their worlds would crumble and rebuild in ways neither could have imagined. This isn't about coincidence. This is about the price of denying truth, and how sometimes the smallest mark can carry the weight of an entire legacy. The crystal chandeliers of Le Magnolia cast rainbows across marble floors as Victoria Sterling balanced champagne flutes with practiced grace. At 10:30 p.m. on Friday, the restaurant hummed with Manhattan's power elite conducting business over $30 appetizers. Victoria moved like a ghost, invisible to wealthy patrons who saw her only as an extension of impeccable service. Her black uniform was perfectly pressed, dark hair pulled back in regulation style, smile professionally warm, but distant. The maitre d' appeared at her elbow. Table 12 requires immediate attention. The Blackwood party. Victoria's stomach dropped. Marcus Blackwood. She hadn't seen him in 4 years. Not since that night when she was 18 and foolish enough to believe connections made in vulnerability could transcend class differences. "Of course," she said, voice steady despite her thundering heartbeat. Table 12 occupied the restaurant's most prestigious corner overlooking Central Park. Marcus commanded attention, even in stillness. His dark hair was now silver-touched at the temples, broad shoulders filling a charcoal suit worth more than Victoria made in 6 months. He listened to a nervous man gesticulating over spreadsheets, while 2 other men radiated predatory confidence. That came from never worrying about money. Victoria approached with her champagne tray. "Good evening, gentlemen. Compliments of the house." Marcus looked up as she set down glasses. For a moment their eyes met. Victoria searched his face for any flicker of recognition, any acknowledgement of the night when he'd been Marcus, not Mr. Blackwood, when he'd traced the small strawberry birthmark on her left wrist and called it beautiful. His steel-grey eyes passed over her with disinterested efficiency. Nothing, no recognition. She was nobody to him. "Thank you," he said curtly, already turning back to his companions. "That will be all." The dismissal was clean and absolute. Victoria felt something crack inside her chest. As she turned to leave, she heard one companion laugh. "Still breaking hearts, Marcus. That waitress looked like she'd seen a ghost." "They all look the same to me," Marcus replied with casual cruelty. "Help is help." Victoria made it to the staff corridor before her composure cracked. Help is help. 4 years of raising his daughter alone, working multiple jobs, telling Emma bedtime stories about her father, who was away on important business. She pulled out her phone, looking at her wallpaper. Emma, gap-toothed and grinning, wearing the red dress Victoria had saved months to buy. Emma, who had her father's steel-grey eyes and stubborn chin, who asked every night when Daddy was coming home. The Blackwood Foundation Children's Charity Gala was Manhattan's social event of the season. 500 of New York's most powerful people had paid $10,000 a plate to fund programs for underprivileged children. Marcus stood near the Temple of Dendur, nursing scotch and enduring conversation with Senator Richardson about tax policy. His foundation's executive director had briefed him: dinner, speeches, presentation from children who'd benefited from their programs, then blessed relief of going home. The lights dimmed, and Catherine Walsh took the stage, beginning her presentation. About the foundation's work with homeless children, Marcus half listened, until a small figure appeared at the spotlight's edge. The girl couldn't have been more than 7, with dark hair in careful braids and a yellow dress, obviously bought specially for the occasion. She walked to the microphone with fearless confidence, adjusting the stand with practiced ease. "Hi, everyone," she said, voice clear and strong. "My name is Emma, and I want to tell you about my mommy." Marcus found himself paying attention. There was something magnetic about the child's presence. "My mommy works really hard to take care of me. She has 2 jobs and goes to school at night, but still reads me stories and helps with homework. She says, even when things are hard, we help people who need it more." The room was captivated by the child's simple eloquence. "My mommy told me my daddy is away on important business, helping people. She says he has a good heart, but sometimes grown-ups make mistakes. I think your charity is like my daddy, trying to help people even when it's hard." Marcus felt something cold settle in his stomach. The girl's words triggered a suppressed memory of a young woman with dark hair and earnest eyes. Emma smiled radiantly. "I know my daddy will come back someday, because my mommy says good people always find their way home. Until then, I want to help other kids like me who are waiting for their daddies too." Applause was thunderous, but Marcus barely heard it. He stared at the child's face, seeing steel-grey eyes he saw every morning in the mirror. The stubborn chin, his father always said, came from Blackwood bloodline. As Emma curtsied and prepared to leave, she suddenly stopped and looked directly at Marcus. For an eternity, father and daughter stared at each other. Then Emma smiled brilliantly and did something that would change both their lives forever. She ran toward him. "Daddy!" she called out, voice cutting through polite applause like a blade. "Daddy, it's me, it's Emma!" The room erupted in whispers as the 7-year-old barreled through Manhattan's elite yellow dress bright against black tuxedos. Marcus stood frozen as the child who shared his eyes threw herself at his legs with complete abandon. "Daddy, I knew you'd come. Mommy said you were helping people, and here you are helping all the kids." 500 pairs of eyes focused on Marcus Blackwood as he looked down at the child clinging to him. The resemblance was unmistakable. Marcus began, his voice failing for the first time in decades. Emma looked up with pure trust and love. "Don't you remember me, Daddy? Mommy showed me pictures. She said you were the most important person in the world, but you had to go away to help people." The crowd pressed closer, sensing drama. Phones appeared as photographers sensed tomorrow's headlines. "Emma," he said softly, kneeling to her level, "where is your mother?" "She's working. She has to work extra tonight because tomorrow is my first day of school, but Mrs. Rodriguez brought me because they said kids from the program could come." Marcus's mind raced. 4 years ago, a young woman with dark hair and desperate dreams, Victoria. Her name came back like a physical blow. "What's your mommy's name?" he asked, though he already knew. "Victoria Sterling. She's the best mommy in the whole world." Marcus pulled his ring from his finger, placing it next to the one that had started it all. "Emma, would you like to see your mommy?" The ride to La Magnolia passed in a blur of Emma's endless questions. Each one was a knife twist of guilt, reminding him of missed milestones he'd never known existed. "Mommy says you help people with computers. She says you're really smart, and that's why you had to go away." "Your mommy is very kind," Marcus replied, voice thick with emotion. "She cries sometimes, at night when she thinks I'm sleeping, but she always smiles in the morning." Marcus closed his eyes, imagining Victoria working multiple jobs, going to school at night, raising their daughter alone while he lived in willful ignorance. "Daddy? Are you going to go away again?" Marcus looked down at his daughter. "No, sweetheart. I'm never going away again." La Magnolia was still busy when they arrived. Marcus walked through the entrance with Emma's hand in his, feeling like he was entering a different universe. Henri, the maître d', nearly dropped his reservation book. "Mr. Blackwood, how unexpected." "I need to speak with Victoria Sterling." "It's urgent." Henri's professional composure flickered. "I'm afraid our staff members aren't available for—" "It's okay," Emma piped up. He's my daddy. We're here to see Mommy. Henri's eyes widened as he took in the family resemblance. Of course. Please wait here. Victoria was in the kitchen when Henri found her, rolling silverware. She looked up, noting his strange expression. There's someone here to see you, at the front entrance. At this hour? Henri, you know I can't. It's Marcus Blackwood, and he has a child with him, a little girl who... Victoria, she looks exactly like you. Victoria's hands stilled. Her worst nightmare was walking through the front door. Oh, God. Emma. She ran through the restaurant, heart hammering, professional composure forgotten. As she rounded the corner, she saw them. Marcus Blackwood, looking utterly lost as he held hands with Emma. "Emma!" Victoria called out, relief and terror warring in her voice. "What are you doing here?" Emma launched herself at her mother. "Mommy! I found Daddy! He was helping kids, just like you said!" Victoria. He caught her daughter while her eyes met Marcus's over Emma's head. In his gaze, she saw recognition, shock, and regret. "Mrs. Rodriguez?" Victoria asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "Emergency with her grandson," Marcus answered quietly. "Emma was at the Gala representing children helped by my foundation. She introduced herself to 500 people as my daughter." Victoria closed her eyes, feeling her world crumbling. "Emma, honey, we need to talk. I know you're mad, but Daddy came to find us. He said he's never going away again." Victoria's gaze snapped to Marcus, seeing truth in his expression. He knew. After 4 years, Marcus Blackwood finally understood what he'd walked away from. "Victoria, we need to talk. Not here. Emma, we're going home. But Daddy..." "Emma." Victoria's voice carried maternal authority. "Home. Now." Marcus stepped forward. "I'll drive you." "That's not necessary." "It is. We have 4 years to discuss." The drive to Queens was the longest 30 minutes of Victoria's life. Emma chatted from the back seat while Victoria sat rigid, watching her carefully constructed life unravel. Their apartment building was 5 stories of brick and desperation, held together by families' dreams. Victoria led them up 3 flights, to apartment 3B, hyper-aware of Marcus, taking in every detail of their humble existence. The apartment was tiny, but immaculate, furnished with thrift store finds Victoria had turned into a home through sheer will. Emma's artwork covered the refrigerator, toys organized in milk crates that doubled as furniture. "This is my room," Emma announced, dragging Marcus toward a space barely large enough for a twin bed. "Mommy painted the walls purple because it's my favorite color." Victoria watched Marcus take in their daughter's bedroom. Carefully patched walls, handmade curtains, bookshelf built from boards and bricks, but filled with well-loved stories. "Emma, it's past your bedtime. Go brush your teeth." "But Daddy just got here." "Teeth, now." "Your first day of school is tomorrow." Emma sighed dramatically but obeyed, leaving Victoria and Marcus alone. Silence stretched between them, heavy with 4 years of unspoken truths you never told me, Marcus said finally. Victoria's laugh was bitter. "When would I have done that? When you left that morning without looking back? When you changed your phone number? When I saw your engagement announcement 6 months later?" "That engagement was a business arrangement." "Fair?" Victoria's voice rose. "You want to talk about fair? I was 18, Marcus. 18 and alone and pregnant. Working 3 jobs just to afford prenatal vitamins. You want to know what's not fair? Watching our daughter ask why other kids have daddies. Choosing between groceries and school supplies." Marcus had gone pale. "I didn't know. You didn't want to know. That night you told me about your fears, your dreams. I thought it meant something. I thought you saw me as more than entertainment. I did. No, you didn't. Because if you had, you would have remembered my face when I served you champagne. You would have recognized the woman you spent 8 hours talking to." The blow landed hard. "Jesus, that was you. I knew you looked familiar." They all look. The same to you. Help is help. That's what you said about me. Marcus closed his eyes, remembering his casual cruelty. Victoria, I'm sorry. I don't want your apology. I want you to understand what your dismissal cost us. Every night for 4 years, Emma has asked when her daddy is coming home. I told her you were helping people because I didn't want her to know her father saw her mother as disposable. Before Marcus could respond, Emma appeared in star-printed pajamas. Daddy, will you read me a story? Marcus looked from Emma to Victoria, seeing 4 years of love and sacrifice in every detail. This woman had raised their daughter alone, worked herself to exhaustion, painted bedroom walls and built bookshelves because love was more valuable than money. I'd like that very much, he said softly. After Emma fell asleep, Marcus and Victoria sat at her tiny kitchen table. The coffee was instant and mugs were chipped, but Marcus had never been more present. I want to help, he said. Financially, I mean. Your daughter doesn't need your money. She needs her father. There's a difference. I know. But Victoria, you're working yourself to death. I won't be kept. I won't be your charity case. That's not what I'm offering. I'm offering partnership, real partnership, in raising our daughter. What does that look like? Marcus had been thinking about this all day. Shared custody, you being able to focus on education without worrying about rent, Emma having both parents consistently, and what do you get? Marcus looked through the door to where Emma's artwork covered the refrigerator. I get to be her father. I get to know my daughter, help shape the extraordinary person she's becoming, and maybe earn your forgiveness. Victoria studied his face. The man you were 4 years ago wouldn't be sitting here eating spaghetti from a jar. That man was an idiot who didn't know what mattered. And now you do? Now I'm learning. 3 months later, the custody arrangement had settled into rhythm. Marcus picked Emma up from school 3 days a week, spending afternoons introducing her to his world while learning to see it through her eyes. Victoria had cut back to one job, taking full course load at night. Daddy, can you come to my school? Play? Emma asked one afternoon in Marcus's office. Of course, what's it about? Families, Mrs. Patterson says every family is different, but love makes them real families. She sounds wise. She is. She said you and Mommy are brave for choosing to be a family, even though it's complicated. Marcus paused, struck by the teacher's insight. They were choosing to be a family, not traditional, but something new that worked for them. Emma, are you happy with how things are now? Emma considered seriously. Mostly. I like having you pick me up and seeing your office, and Mommy smiles more, doesn't cry at night anymore. But sometimes I wish we all lived in the same house, like real families do. The longing in her voice was unmistakable. Sweetheart, sometimes families look different than on TV, but that doesn't make them less real. I know, I just thought maybe. She didn't finish, but Marcus knew. Maybe her parents would fall in love and give her the fairy tale ending she dreamed of. 6 months later, Marcus stood in the tiny kitchen that had become more home than his penthouse ever was. Victoria was at the stove making butterfly pancakes while Emma set the table with 8-year-old precision. Daddy, you're not stirring right, Emma informed him, pointing at the orange juice. Mommy showed you 3 times. Your father is many things, but domestic is not one of them, Victoria said with a smile. I'm learning, Marcus protested, though he was smiling too. The learning curve had been steep, figuring out how to exist where every corner was lived in, where love was measured, in moments rather than dollars. Are you nervous about the adoption hearing? Victoria asked, terrified. What if the judge thinks I'm not qualified? Emma looked up with indignation. That's silly, Daddy. You're already my real father. The judge is just making it official. The adoption had been Emma's idea, proposed with straightforward logic of a child tired of having different last names from her father. What if I mess up? He asked, voicing his fear. Then we'll figure it out together, Victoria said, echoing their promise. That's what families do. The adoption hearing was a formality. Marcus had been Emma's father in every way that mattered for over a year. "And you want Mr. Blackwood to officially adopt you?" the judge asked Emma. "Yes, please. He reads me stories and picks me up from school and knows how to make chocolate chip pancakes now. Also, he promised to never leave again, and Daddy always keeps his promises." The judge smiled. "And how do you feel about changing your name?" Emma had thought about this for weeks. "I want to be Emma Sterling Blackwood, so everyone knows I belong to both my parents." Marcus felt tears prick his eyes. His daughter had found a way to honor both parents while claiming her place in his legacy. Very well. "Emma Sterling Blackwood, meet your father, Marcus Blackwood." Emma launched herself at Marcus, and he caught her up, feeling the weight of responsibility, and love settle on his shoulders. "We're a real family now," Emma whispered, "just like I always knew we would be." As they left the courthouse, Victoria slipped her hand into Marcus's for the first time since they'd decided to try building something together. It was a small gesture, but it felt like a promise. "So, what now?" Victoria asked as they stood on the courthouse steps, their daughter between them, hands linked across the space where their separate lives had finally merged. Marcus thought about his penthouse, about the empire he'd built through emotional distance. Then he looked at Emma, at Victoria, at the family they'd created from broken pieces and second chances. "Now we go home," he said, and for the first time in his adult life, he knew exactly where that was. The story of Marcus Blackwood and Victoria Sterling began with a billionaire's cruel dismissal and a waitress's broken heart, but it became something much more powerful, a testament that love is not measured in dollars but in presence, that family is defined not by perfection but by the choice to keep showing up for each other, and that sometimes the most important legacies are built not in boardrooms but around kitchen tables, where butterflies are made of pancakes and promises are kept one day at a time. Their story reminds us that sometimes the most profound transformations begin with the courage to recognize what we've lost, the humility to ask for forgiveness, and the faith that love can conquer the vast distances between different worlds. Because in the end, the birthmark that changed everything wasn't just a physical sign, it was the mark of love itself, patient and persistent and powerful enough to turn strangers into family and broken hearts into something beautifully whole. Stories, like Marcus, Victoria, and Emma's, remind us that life can always be rewritten, that choices made in the past do not define who we can become today. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who also needs to believe in second chances. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more narratives that reveal the power of love, hope, and transformation